Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Craft Your Life podcast with Alnew. So excited to have in studio today the amazing Kristina Werner. Welcome, Kristina.
Hello.
Thank you so much for joining us. It's always fun when we have a chat. We've done a few interviews together because you've been doing a lot of stuff, like a lot of retreats lately, which is so exciting. So,
and as we're recording, there's another one this weekend.
I know, it's coming right up. It's very, very, it's always exciting, the retreats. There's just a special super vibe. So it's awesome.
And I think when this podcast airs, that retreat will be long gone, right? So
yeah, because this is planned for December. So Kristina, for folks that may not, I don't know where they've been, but for folks that may not have met you yet virtually, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Okay, so my name is Kristina Werner, and I live in Utah with my husband and our two cats. And I started crafting right out of college. I studied graphic design and fine art in college. And my first job after I graduated, in fact, I think I only interviewed at like 3 or 4 companies. It was the first job offer I got, and it was to work at Stampin' Up. Had nothing to do with crafting. It was all graphic design. I was just going to be designing their catalog. Yeah. So I was brought on to design their catalog for Australia and Canada. So what's up, my Aussie and Canucks with all the crafting? It was fun because I had never designed in a different language, but in Canada, you're required to have French.
Yep.
Equal amount French and English. So this is kind of a random fact, but I don't know if you know that the word for stamp in French, we would see it and just say tampon.
Yes.
And I was like, right out of college, and I had my computer screen up, and my coworkers are walking by, and it says tampon, huge on the screen. And I'm like, I'm so embarrassed. But it really just meant stamp.
Yes.
But anyway, so I designed the catalog for their international division. And then just through the course of seeing all the fun projects and the products in the catalog, I was kind of like, this looks really fun. This is not the kind of crafting of yesteryear that I was familiar with, where it's all just really, cuddly bears and very shabby chic, which I had not been attracted to because that's not my style. Yeah. I realized that there were so many other styles out there, especially like really cool things coming on the market right around the time when I was at Stampin' Up. That was right when Basic Gray was coming into the industry. I don't know if you remember that from, they're not around anymore as a crafting company, but they just had awesome design. And there was just a little bit of it was almost like a renaissance of crafting styles back in the mid 2000s, 2005 to 2008, I would say. And I was just like, this is so cool. You can make this crafting thing whatever you want it to be. So I started crafting at home at night, just in my free time. And I hadn't designed any product. I was just using what was out there. And I think I went to a Stampin' Up! Convention, and I saw some people demonstrating on stage just how to use these new products that were coming out. And I thought, you know what? I wonder if I could make a stamp set that was like this. And I kind of mocked it up, and I took it to the art director at the time, and I showed it to him, and he's like, oh, this is great. You should do it. And I'm like, okay. So they're great company, always open to new ideas and things like that. So that was the first stamp set I ever designed. It was called Riveting, and it was a hostess stamp set. If you're familiar with how Stampin' Up! Works, they have some stamps or products that you can only get if you host a party.
I think I have that actually.
Do you have it?
I think I do. I have a bunch of oldies, really oldies, back in the vault, as I call it, because they just never see the light. I think I have that.
It's like the circle. It's a circle, and then it has another circle inside. Yeah. That was me. Oh, so wow, so random. So that was about a year and a half, 2 years into working for Stampin' Up, and then I was like, you know what? I kind of want to do the product design thing. I love the catalog, but I want to design product. So they had an opening in their product design team, and I transitioned over. And then I was a product designer for Stampin' Up! For 2.5 more years. And then I left, and hearkening back to Basic Gray that I mentioned a minute ago, I worked at Basic Gray for about 2.5 years. And then all along this, while I've like working my 9-to-5 job, I've been crafting at home. And pretty quickly, like I had a blog, I was sharing my cards and all my different makes, kind of like at Split Coast Stampers and on my blog. And back then, using like grosgrain ribbon was pretty big. And I had actually learned from the concept artists at the Stampin' Up! Office, like how they tie a knot in ribbon so that it's not all wonky looking and kind of lays pretty flat. So I had started putting ribbon on my cards. And people were asking at Split Coast, they're like, how do you tie your ribbon like that? And I was like, how do I describe this? Like, how do I step by step show how to tie a knot in ribbon? What? And then there was this thing, I think they had just barely changed the name to YouTube. Before it was like Google Video or something like that. And I was like, I know this like tech girl. She like reviews iPhones and stuff. She does video on YouTube. It's free. So maybe I'll just, film a little video of tying a knot and I'll throw it up on YouTube. So I had my little point and shoot camera that had a video mode. I like wedged it under my chin and I was like, trying to tie a knot on my card. And that was my very first video. And I put it up. I didn't even realize that people could leave comments on YouTube. I just embedded the video on my blog and said, here's how you tie a knot in ribbon. And then I think like 2 or 3 months later, suddenly I discovered there were comments at YouTube with people asking questions. I'm like, oh my gosh, I didn't even know. So that was how my YouTube channel started. Back in the day, it was Make a Card Monday, where it was just like kind of sped up. Like I sped up the video and there was music over it and I just showed a card from beginning to end. And so YouTube was kind of growing at the same time as I was doing this 9-to-5 job thing. And then in 2011, oh, hi, Kitty.
Yes. She wants to see Kristina.
She wants to be up in what's happening. In 2011, I left Basic Gray and I was hired by Simon Says Stamp. So I started working from home and that was great because before that I had a pretty long commute. So yeah. So, and right when I went to Simon Says Stamp, Jennifer McGuire and I also started online card classes.
Oh.
So between onlinecardclasses.com, my 9-to-5 job that I had at Simon Says Stamp, and then my YouTube channel, I was doing like 3 things all at the same time. And and then just over time, like whatever needs a little more attention, I put towards that. And then, kind of my time shifts or what needs to happen. But I don't work full time for Simon anymore. I'm freelance. So that's kind of what I do now. I like to say, okay, when I'm on an airplane and I'm sitting next to a stranger and they say, what do you do? I have a decision. I can give them the true airplane answer.
Yes.
And we'll shut them up and they're not going to ask a lot of questions. And that is, I'm an online art teacher.
Oh, that's a good one.
Right?
That is a very good one.
But then if they ask like more about it, then I say, oh, well, I have a graphic design background. And so I design product for the crafting industry. And then I teach people how to use it online.
Yeah. That
is my description.
I'm going to have to borrow that because everybody thinks I collect postage stamps. Like I try to explain it to them. Like, oh, so you collect stamps. And I'm like, yes, but not what you mean. And they're like, you mean like the postage runs, right? And I'm like, oh, sure. Yeah, that's what I do. That's exactly what I do.
I do. I actually do collect postage stamps.
I actually do too, but not, not for a job.
For sure. And people, you have to say like scrapbooking. People know what that is.
Yes.
They don't necessarily know card making.
Or stamping. So, when you say stamping, that's, no.
Yeah. So you have to like, okay, it's scrapbooking, but like I do like kind of a more specific section of that's where you're just making cards out of the paper stuff. You're not making the scrapbook page.
We got to bring stamping to the forefront more, I think, because got to get it up there with scrapbooking so people know what it is.
Totally. For sure. So that's my very long answer to my crafting background.
How did you pick graphic design?
That's a funny story because when I was in high school, I had an art teacher. I was in some art classes. He was my painting teacher, actually. I'm not going to out him because it's not a good look for him, but I'm going to tell you what happened. I was applying for colleges and you could declare a major. And so I went to him one day and I said, I'm thinking of majoring in graphic design. And he looked at me and he's like, you're going to have to take a lot of art classes for that. Are you sure I want to do that? He kind of like discouraged me. And I was like, okay, maybe I don't. So I went into my freshman year of college without having a major. And I didn't even take any art classes.
Oh, no.
I had no major at all. But in like a course of like random events, I ended up working for the campus newspaper. I saw their, I had been doing what they called online blogging or online journaling.
Yes.
For a few years. Before there was even like Blogger or WordPress, it was like you're coding your own HTML page and typing up a journal.
Yeah.
So I had been doing that for years. So I had a little bit of like a web design background. So I saw the campus newspaper's website and I was like, oh, yikes. They need some help.
Yeah.
So halfway through my freshman year, I went in and it turns out it was just like just sign up for the newspaper class. And then the first day of class, they'll figure out where your needs can be put and they will put you in that area. So I started working on the website. So I worked on the campus newspaper website for half a year, like just half a semester basically. And I went home for the summer and I came back in the fall and went back to the internet staff. I was just going to keep working on the internet stuff. Well, the office manager of the campus newspaper, she was like a local lady, kind of a mom figure to everyone in the office. And she asked me one day at the very beginning before the year had even started, she said, do you need an on-campus job? I need a student secretary. And I said, oh, sure. I'd love that. I would love to have an on-campus job. So she hired me to be a student secretary. And I was actually student secretary for her for 4 years. It took me 5 years to graduate. But anyway, so I had been working for her for a couple months. And it was time to start thinking about registering for classes for the winter semester. So I was talking to her and I'm like, her name is Karen. Love her. I'm like, Karen, I just don't even know what classes to take. I don't have a major. She was like, what? Aren't you a graphic design major? Well, no. And then she said, I hired you because I thought you were. I'm like, no, I'm not a graphic design major. And she's like, well, you should take some classes. Let me just pick up my phone here and call an art teacher. And so she picks up the phone and she calls this professor. And she's like, I got a student here who needs to take some graphic design classes. I'm going to send her over. And I'm in the background going, no, I don't want to. Because in the back of my head, I'm hearing Mr. X art teacher in high school telling me that I'm not going to cut it.
Yeah.
So I went over and talked to that professor and he was like, okay, you're going to take this intro to graphic design class, see if you like it. And if you do, then here's how you'll progress and take these other classes. And I said, okay. So that next semester, I took my intro to graphic design class and the rest is history. I loved it. It was my jam. It was my home. I loved it so much. It just made sense. So I'm not grateful for Mr. Rude art teacher who discouraged me.
No.
But I am grateful for a very intuitive office manager who was like, isn't she a graphic design major? That she could see it before I did. So anyway, she was amazing. So I was there, because I started into the program so late, like basically I didn't really start until my junior year.
Yeah.
I was there for 5 years to finish up my degree.
Well, we're very grateful for Karen as a community. Let me speak for the whole community and say we are so grateful for Karen and not just our art teacher because
we love Karen.
Oh.
And I have so many great memories of working in that newspaper office. I happened to be there. I mean, this is a somber thought, but it's what just came to my head. 9/11.
Oh.
And our newspaper came out Tuesday mornings. And so as a student secretary, it was my job to get there at like 7 a.m. Mountain Time.
Yeah.
Basically 9 a.m.
Yeah.
And I would have to go into the office and turn on all the TVs that were playing CNN. And I was like, what in the world? Like it just unreal. So, I mean, to be like in kind of like a newspaper kind of office when all of that was going down, it was just unreal. So now my husband and I, randomly. Right now, we're watching Newsroom. Did you ever watch Newsroom, that show on
No,
HBO?
I haven't seen that one.
Yeah, it has oh my gosh, is it Jeff Bridges? Is that his name?
I think so.
He was one of the guys in Dumb and Dumber. Is that the right guy? I'm thinking
yes. Yep.
Yeah. So he's in it, but basically the show is, I think it came out in maybe like 2016, 2017, somewhere around there. But they're like covering real world events from like going into like 2010, 2011, 2012. I think there's a 2012 right now. But anyway, it's like unreal. I'm like, this is a little bit like how it was being in a newsroom. It was just interesting. Anyway, that's beside the point. That's a far detour from crafting. But just
we can tie it back.
Okay.
We can tie it back, of course. We did because we need to know why it was graphic design. And my other question from your story, do you speak French? Or did you have to have somebody help you? So you had to have somebody help you with the French for the...
Well, I mean, there were editors at the Stampin' Up! Office that spoke French. So I could like read it just a little bit because I would see the English version right next to it. So I could kind of, over time, I could kind of see what the comparison was.
Yeah.
I couldn't say anything in French to save my life, but I could probably read it and get like a little bit of an understanding of what it's saying, but only if they're talking about crafting.
I know a little Spanish, enough to find a bathroom and an airport and, those important things.
Survival,
yes. The Romance countries, I think I could do okay as well because they're pretty close. So, but yeah, I couldn't do French. French is, there are a lot of hard languages out there. I had trouble with French. I did a couple days and I'm like, nope.
Well, I need to go Duolingo, do some Babble or something.
It would be good. It's always good to keep the brain going and learning new things.
Absolutely.
What language would you like to learn if you were to learn a language?
I think German. I have a trip planned coming up in a few weeks where we're going to be in France and then into Germany. But also, I think I'm going to be going back to Germany and Austria next year. I've always wanted to go to Austria. So I don't want to learn. Who knows? I might really take to it. I probably won't. But I really just want to know enough to have a little conversation with the people there.
Yeah.
I've heard that it really goes a long way and that they appreciate having a little effort shown by the tourists. So I do want to learn just, some simple phrases. So I might break out that Duolingo. I might have to get some app to help me get some conversational German.
Next time we see you, you may be fluent in German. Who knows? You never know. So
For sure.
Now, how did you find Alnew in this wonderful crafty world?
Yeah, well, I think it's going to be the same answer for a lot of people. I think it was Jennifer McGuire. She's always right on top of things. I think it must have been like the layering flower stamps from way back in yesteryear. And I thought, oh, those are so pretty. They're so nice. And then I think I met Jen and Tasneem at a CHA or something, like right after. And then, but I didn't really get to know a lot of people from Alnew until it was a few years in, and I ended up being at an industry event with Nabil, and I think Tasneem was there. And I don't think Jen came that time, but I got to know them a little bit more. So yeah, just awesome company, great people, got good heads on their shoulders. And they want to offer fun, crafty, artsy things to the world and let people really run with it.
And it, for when I remember looking at it, I'm like, I can't do that. Like the layering flowers. I'm like, there's no way I can do that. Like it looks like magic. You start with one weird shape and then you end up with this flower that looks like you can touch it. So yeah, that got us. I even remember mine was antique roses. That was my first Alnew set that got me in. But yes, I think there is a hashtag going around that Jennifer made me do it. I think. I'm not positive. Really? People tell me they put that on stuff. So.
Just like Stampin' Up! Is like a gateway drug to get into the industry. Like Jennifer is like the gateway to like get into all the other stuff too. So true.
I remember too, when you talked about doing a video for tying a ribbon, I remember being back in the day, you want to know how to tie the perfect ribbon, and so totally. I think there are a lot of us that that's where we started with YouTube, was how do you tie a ribbon? You know, because you couldn't tie it and it would be wonky, or your ribbon would stretch out, or so. I think that was an entry level for a lot of crafters out there as well. So
video, I think, was the best thing to happen to the crafting industry, because I mean, before there was kind of like this online outlet, you'd have to go to in-person events or classes at your local scrapbook store or something like that, because nothing can beat like seeing something happen, like the process happening in like as it's coming about. Like there's no other way to really learn it like that. I mean, you can only learn so much from like step-by-step photos.
Yeah.
So I think video is one of those things that really makes it more accessible for a lot of people. And I mean, I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing, and you probably wouldn't be doing what you're doing if we didn't have this whole online space to kind of like share what we're creating.
And now with Zoom, I mean, you get to know people, and, you know, you really get to build connections with folks, even though it's across the screen. You know, you develop friendships, and it really helps keep you closer. And it's just an amazing advantage that we've had in recent years, is having Zoom and the capability to, like, you know, the crafty retreats. You know, everybody can come
communicate in real time, like we're doing now.
Yes. And you're in your own space, which is great. You know, you can run over and grab something if you forgot it. It's not like it's, you know, back in another state for you. So it's
where you have to like roll in with a huge bag.
Yes.
with your whole craft room.
The big black, it was rolling something. I can't remember the name of it, but yes, I had that back in the day as well. Yes. So what other crafty hobbies do you like to work on besides paper crafts?
Gosh. Well, you can see all this stuff back here, that big stack of felt.
I thought that was felt. Yeah, I was going to say felt.
Yep, that's felt. So a few years ago, when was it? Maybe 2016, my siblings, there were 4 of us, my sisters and sister-in-law, we all got together and we said, you know what, let's not buy Christmas gifts for each other. Let's create handmade ornaments to go on Christmas trees. And I said, okay. And I really had to think about it. I'm like, what am I going to make? And right around that same time, I came across some felt Christmas ornament patterns that you could purchase on Etsy. They're from MMM Crafts. Larissa Holland is her name, and she's a phenomenal like fiber artist. I don't know what to call her. She comes up with these elaborate patterns for Christmas ornaments, and she had a 12 Days of Christmas series that she'd been working on, and I think she just came out with day 8. It was the most beautiful black swan for Swan to Swimming for day 8, and or maybe it's 7, I think. And I was like, this is the most gorgeous thing I've ever seen. I need to make this. So, but I thought, you know, I can't start with day 8 or day 7. I'm going to have to go back to day 1. So for 3 years, I just made 4 of the same ornament, 1 for me to keep and then 3 for my siblings. So I did that for 3 years. And then at that point, my sisters and sister-in-law were done with making their own ornaments. And they're like, we're done. Peace out. We're just going to give regular gifts. I'm like, well, what about my handmade ornaments? So they, we've been doing regular gifts ever since. But this last year, I was like, you know what? I want to finish them. So I've gone back. I'm starting it back up again. I think I've had high hopes to finish them this year, but that's a lot of ornaments in one year when you're making 4 of every single one. So I think I'm up through day 6. I've done 4, 5, and 6. Hold on. I will show you exactly what they look like. I've got like 4 months in it.
Okay, we can do that.
I get all of my felt from Benzie felt, but like, can you see this? This is,
oh my gosh.
This is a little collie bird. And then you put the little number 4 on the back. So, and the patterns, she makes the patterns so easy. You like print out all the intricate stitching, and it's on this dissolvable, like almost tissue paper that you stick to the felts. You sew right through it, cut it out, and then you soak it in water, and all of the pattern like melts away. And then you're just left with your beautiful stitching. So that's one color combo. And this is the other color combo.
Oh my gosh, they're both beautiful.
So they're the little collie birds. I don't know which siblings are getting what color, but we'll see. So
it would be hard to give up any of them. They're so beautiful.
And they look really cute when they're like all like lined up.
Oh my gosh, yes, they do.
They look really cute.
I don't know if that's called a gaggle. I'm not sure what 4 birds are. I'm not sure if that's a gaggle. I think that's geese. I'm not sure.
But these are really good to work on when I'm like traveling because I can just have everything cut. So I actually, this last January, went on my actual honeymoon, even though we've been married nearly 3 years. COVID messed a lot of things up.
Yes.
So I actually sewed and assembled all of these in the Bahamas.
Oh, wow. So you have a good story to go with them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So there I was like on the beach, like sewing. Got a lot of strange looks from all the waiters that walked by with drinks.
Yes, I got married during COVID too. So yeah, it did mess up a couple of things. Yeah, because you can't do anything, but that's all right. It kept guest lists small, which was kind of good.
Oh, ours was very small. It was me, my husband, the officiant, and the photographer. It was very small.
It's we even had ours was even, it was his nephew was the photographer, so it was even
perfect,
even smaller. So we had family kind of fill in roles. My cousin baked the cake, and so yeah.
It took a whole village.
It did, but we pulled it off. It was probably the coldest day that ever has existed, but we pulled it off because I had to run from the outside of the church so that nobody could see me. I was in the basement. And I had to run the outside in a veil, and I looked like the flying nun with my veil.
Runaway bride.
Runaway bride. Yes, I was just running towards the groom instead of away.
There you go.
It's you got to have a story. So.
Of course.
Now, so what are some of your biggest influences in your crafting?
Oh gosh. I'm trying to think. I don't know that I have any like set influences that I go back to over and over again. I really use Instagram as like a resource. Like I'll just scroll through that Instagram algorithm, even though it upsets me that I don't see all the people that I follow, it does suggest some really fun things. Yeah. So sometimes I'll see really cool projects that maybe aren't even related to paper crafting at all, but I think they're kind of cool. Maybe it's a good color combo. Hi, kitty. Maybe it's a good color combo or just something really interesting. So I'll save a lot of posts at Instagram. And then when I have kind of like a lull and I'm not feeling too creative, I'll go back to Instagram and look at those saved posts because it's like a good resource of stuff that I have already thought looked really cool that could be kind of be fun to be inspired by. So I'll go back to things on Instagram a lot and just pick that up. Pinterest is also a great place. It's almost like you have to put in a little bit of legwork that's going to help you in the future when you're not feeling inspired. So just kind of always have that in the back of my head, like, okay, I'm going to save this for later for a rainy day when things aren't as, flowing creatively.
Do you think your style has changed a lot over the years, or do you think it's very similar to like when you started?
I think it has adapted a lot. When I first started out, it was much more simple. But then I got into coloring and painting. And so things got a little bit more artistic down that vein. I think it's been a slow progression. It's not been anything like really drastic overnight, but looking back at like my cards from, 10, 15 years ago, I can still tell that they're mine and I can still tell that that style is still there. But, just as all of the styles in the industry adapt and change every year, your personal style does as well. It kind of goes along with it. So, it has adapted over the years, but I still think it's fairly close. And when I started out, I put like white dashed lines on everything. And it's still one of my best tips that like, if you finish your card and you're trying to keep it simple, clean and simple, but it doesn't look finished, just add a dashed line on there and it just finishes it right up.
And I believe you said you have a lot of videos talking about adding dash lines as well.
Oh, if I remember so correctly. Many. And people in the comments would they were probably trying to like tease me about it, but I'm like, no, bring it on. Like I will own it. I do white dash lines on everything.
It's your trademark. Can't be a Kristina card without it. How long have you been painting? Because your painting is phenomenal.
I did some watercoloring back in college, but then that was it. I didn't do anything after until, in fact, you know what? I think it goes back to Jan Reza. She taught a watercoloring class for us at online card classes. And I was just like, this is so fun. I had never thought to like watercolor on cards. And she really brought that to like the forefront of my mind to think that I could do that. And that was kind of around the same time when I was interested in Copic markers. And so like coloring those like outline images and stuff like that. So if I was going to pinpoint a big shift in the style of my crafting, it was when I introduced more of like that technique, the coloring technique, whether it's painting or coloring with markers. When I brought that into my cards, I kind of had to change how I was approaching a lot of the card designs.
And it's Jen was one of mine too through Alnew Academy. Her watercolor class was, so Jen, so we have that in common. Jen, her watercolor is phenomenal. And definitely love that. And
I suspect she had a lot to do with the color selection for the artistry too paints, right?
I don't know. But the colors are phenomenal. They are,
because I was like,
so
I can
beautiful.
see Jen's influence on this. Because the colors are great.
They are. It's a beautiful rain. I mean, it's already a built-in rainbow, but you can do so much. It's so versatile as well. So it's very
exciting.
Red
in there. Oh, that red. I can't remember what the name of it is, but it's the most perfect Christmas red.
It's
just up by itself.
There is the dark. I think it's the dark cyan. Like I was like, okay, stop. I'm done. Like I'm in love. That dark, color got me.
Teal color.
Yes.
Like a dusty teal. Oh, yeah. So good.
It's so fun when you find a product like that and you fall in love. Like you just fall in love with the color, just everything about it. And it's so exciting. So I'm not sure the whole story behind it, but yes. So Jen's a very good influence on watercolor.
Absolutely.
So what's your favorite thing to do? Are you a watercolor, or do you like to just keep it mixed up, or do you like to ink blend, or?
I think I do like to keep it kind of mixed up quite a bit. You know, one week I'll be obsessed with painting with distress reinkers, and the next week I'll want to ink blend. I think a lot of it depends on what product I'm using at the time, like what lends itself. Because if I've got like a lot of outline images, I'm probably going to do some sort of coloring or painting to like give color to those images. But at the same time, like coordinating stencils are really big right now.
Yes.
So maybe I'll just use a stencil. It really just depends on the product itself. And sometimes I have to like actively like, okay, you haven't touched your alcohol markers in a bit. Yeah. So let's break those out and like change it up a little bit. But I'm about to start into my holiday card series.
I know.
And holiday cards are my jam. By the time this podcast comes out, we will be well into it.
Yes.
But
it'll be day 10 actually.
Oh, it'll probably be longer than that. See, when is this coming out? In December,
December 10th, yes.
December 10th. Okay, so we'll probably be at like maybe day 18, 19
okay.
at that point.
Okay.
So, day 25 of the holiday card series will be going up on Christmas Day this year.
Oh, so, that's exciting.
Yeah. So it starts like, I think the day before Halloween.
Oh,
and
wow.
Then we're finishing up right at Christmas. Yeah. I like skip over Thanksgiving. There's no Thanksgiving in my house.
Because you put up the tree too, right? Because I've seen your office, like you deck the office out as well, correct? Like
before I film the very first day, but it's really not that hard. It's a little tiny mini tree.
Yeah.
And I wrap it in a trash bag after Christmas and I roll it into the other room. And then when Christmas comes back again, all I have to do is like take it back out and put it up. So it's real easy.
You'll have to put your 12 days ornaments on your tree.
That's not a bad idea.
Time. That way you can.
It's going to take me a couple more years to finish them.
We'll be back in 2 years to check in with Kristina and see where she is on her ornaments.
Right.
So you talked about, Instagram and Pinterest for kind of inspiration. Do you have any other great resources that you use?
In particular, when I'm painting like scenery to go behind some images or something like that, I go to Google image search a lot. More recently, I needed a background of just kind of like a cozy, sunny room. And I Googled, I think it was like sunshine in room or something like that. And it came up with this picture of like a tall floor to ceiling sliding door. And then it just had like beams of sunlight coming in. And it was just a very warm room. I'm like, perfect. And I used that as inspiration to just paint like a really simple background that I could then put the images that I'd colored, put those on top. So I do like a quick Google image search a lot. And here's a tip. if you're wanting to do something for your painting and you need it to be a little more simple. Like, let's say you need like, I don't know, teddy bear or something like that. Like it's going to be a bear for a Christmas card. You could do like sitting teddy bear clip art or illustration.
Yep.
And that will give you probably something that's a little more familiar to the type of images that we use in the crafting world, something a little bit more simplified. So that'll give you a really good reference to like, something just refer to while you're painting.
Because it is, and it's hard, even with scene building and ink blending. Sometimes it's hard. You have like your critter, let's say an elephant. You're like, okay, now what do I do with them? And you can do like the simple circle behind, of course, but sometimes you want to do like a real background. And so that's a really good suggestion. That's really great.
Yeah. Like for that elephant example, it could be something like you want like a sunset or whatever. And all you have to Google is like sunset blend or sunset sky or something like that. And you'll get some good examples and that'll get your mind flowing on, oh, okay, I could use similar colors to kind of ink blend a background that could look really cool.
It can be dangerous though, because then you get too many ideas.
It's true. It's true. Then you just save those in that, file for later.
It's funny how you go from no ideas to like, you're like, whoa, okay, that's it. I'm done. I don't need any more. Calm down.
Water hose.
Yes.
I need a trickle.
But yeah, so guys, if you're listening, make sure on Instagram you save. That was the biggest one that got me because I was like, I look through them and like you said, they give you other art communities. Like I get a lot of like jelly arts and candle making but sometimes I think you can take that and put that into your card making and just like whether it's the image or the colors or whatever it is. So save the unlikely source as well as the likely.
Absolutely.
Source, I think is kind of the thing. Now you've already shared a lot of fun facts, but is there another fun fact that you would like to share with the crafty community? We got a lot today.
Related or just anything?
Anything. Any fun fact about Kristina? Yes.
Oh gosh.
You probably get asked this a lot, so you're like, I have no facts anymore.
I'm trying to think of anything that's like super random. Well, it's a lot. Some people might know. I don't know. My 2 cats that I adopted back in 2015. I got them when they were 6 and 8. After this podcast is up, they will be 15 and 17 years old.
Oh.
So we're in the best years when they just want to cuddle and snuggle. Yeah. We're in the home stretch, those best years. So we're just enjoying it. They look and act like kittens.
Yes.
So it's pretty fun. People are like, they're how old? I'm like, yeah, they look good for their age, don't they?
I think pets are doing better longer because when I was a kid, pets seemed to look their age more. I don't know if it's me getting older or the pets are just doing better. I'm not sure which it is, but cats,
I think it's probably that people are keeping their animals indoor. They're giving them an easier life.
I mean, they have clothes, they have furniture. I mean, they're doing pretty good.
That is true. The funniest thing, my mom lives with us. She retired a few years ago. And when she moved back to Utah, both of us were single gals. So she moved in with me. And anyway, she crochets and knits. And she found this pattern to make like a miniature couch that's for cats. And it's a sectional. And it looks exactly like the sectional in our living room. So she's making a replica, even down to like, we have this blanket that's draped over the back. She's making a small version of that to go on their couch. I cannot wait to see when it's done. I think she's going to try to get it done for Christmas because it's just hilarious. But
that is very super cool. Yeah. I may or may not have 2 cat couches in my house as well. So
as you should.
I have one in front of the fireplace and I have one in my office. So we had to get 2.
You have to have multiples.
Yes, you do. So for the listeners, if you're a regular listener of this wonderful podcast, you know what's coming up. We are going to play a random word game with Kristina where we give her 3 random words and she ties them somehow to crafting. So are you ready for your first word?
Let's do this. I love game shows. Is this like password?
Yes.
Like
super password. Yeah. Oh, that would be a tough one.
I know. It'd be like, I can't. No. No way.
I don't think any of these are that bad as rutabaga.
Okay. So just like 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon back to the crafting world.
Yes. Okay. Keep that in mind, everybody. We're going to do 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon if needed, but I don't think we'll need to. So, okay. The first word is performer.
Performer.
Yes. We need some music so you can think.
Yeah. Well, that makes me think of like, that a lot of times when I'm crafting, I will have music on in the background. So yeah, like just listening, or I'll have a podcast up and I'll be listening to that while I'm crafting.
Do you have a favorite performer?
Currently, right now, because I'm getting into the holiday cards, I've got holiday music playing. So I have really loved Kelly Clarkson's Christmas albums. She's got a couple from the last few years. And also Tori Kelly. Yep. That's what I've been listening to recently.
Very nice. So see, performers, crafting, we did it. Mm-hmm. Okay. Your second word is document.
Document?
Yes.
Okay.
This is where we need that music again.
Right? Okay, the first thing that comes to my mind is when I'm planning projects for classes, like the Alnew retreats.
Yes.
We'll need to send in all of our instructions and supplies and things like that, and we type up a document.
There you
go.
And
we send that in.
That's a very good one. Very, very good. I think that passes.
Acceptable?
Yes, I think that passes the thing. When I saw that one, I was like, oh, scrapbooking. That was my first.
Yeah.
It's funny how, because I usually don't say what I was thinking. So it's funny how everybody comes up with something different. That's the coolest. I think that's the funniest thing.
You were thinking
of
like documenting, like the verb documenting.
Yes.
I was thinking of document like
a paper. Or yeah.
Yeah.
We do have a lot of words in the English language that are like that. Like it could mean two different things and they're very different. So yeah, but excellent job. And the final word is recommendation.
Recommendation. Well, that makes me think of like all the crafters that are on YouTube. We're constantly giving our recommendations on products, what we're using, what we love. Every once in a while we'll say, ooh, this didn't work for me. And sometimes we can steer people in a direction for something that will work for them as well. But I mean, I think recs and recommendations are just all over the place.
And you gave excellent ones today for people that are stuck on.
Oh, good.
On need inspiration. Because I think that's one of the most asked questions, because I think everybody gets stuck. It doesn't matter how long you've been doing it. There's a day you look at that paper and there's nothing.
And here's my biggest tip for that. And I love to say this one. A lot of times when I am not inspired, but I want to create something, I'll just organize my crafting supplies. I'll make swatches. Just touching and feeling the supplies keeps my mind in that space so that when that creativity does come back, because it will, when it does come back, I'm ready to go. And I think a lot of times if we step away from that for too long, it's almost like we forget how to be in that world. So if you keep yourself engaged by just like swatching colors, or maybe you're just going to make some backgrounds, you're not turning it into anything. You're just going to paint some backgrounds or something like that. Doing some of those more almost mundane, it's not quite the right word, but the things that are more everyday that aren't necessarily for a project, that can really like bridge the gap until that, inspiration comes back.
And I think too, sometimes when you have in your mind, you have to do a project like that, shuts it up. It just shuts it down. So if you start, like you said, make a background for you, do something for you, not for a project, just for you. And that I think can remove that block, especially if you know where a project's going and you're like, it has to be this. And it just, everything shuts down. So yeah. And I am going to use your on the airplane. What do you do? That is a perfect answer. So
yep.
People don't think
Feel free.
Collect stamps anymore. I do, but not to the degree they think I do. So yes, that's very exciting. Well, thank you, Kristina, so much for joining us and having a chat with us today.
My pleasure.
And all the tips and recommendations. And it was awesome to find out how you became a graphic designer, because I've known it's in your history that you're a graphic designer, but it's wonderful to hear the story of how it really came about. So that's very, very exciting. So
thank you, Karen.
Yes, thank you, Karen, wherever you are, Karen, because our industry would not be our industry without the amazing Kristina Werner. So thank you so much for ignoring the art teacher and listening to Karen and believing in Karen. So we're so grateful you did.
Awesome. Well, thank you for having me. It's been a joy.
And to all of our listeners out there, thank you so much for joining us again. Tune in next month to see who we are going to have a wonderful chat with. And don't forget to craft your life. We'll see you next month. Bye, guys. Follow us on Spotify, Apple Podcast, Google Podcasts, and everywhere you can find podcasts to keep up with every new episode. Email us at support@altenew.com with your feedback. And don't forget to craft your life.
Hello, crafters. I hope you enjoyed that video. If you want to see more, don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel and hit the notification bell so you don't miss anything. Thanks for watching.